The meta on Football Manager encourages you to play high pressing, high tempo attacking football. You can win a lot of games playing this way, but the problem is that you often tire your players out and run the risk of having injuries. And not to mention that, especially on FM26, you will tend to concede a lot of late goals. That's because your players are getting tired towards the latter stages of the game. Also, if you're simulating a lot of games, you can win a lot of matches if you're just using the high tempo, high pressing attacking systems. However, if you're playing Football Manager yourself, you notice that most meta systems and the attacking system can become very inconsistent, especially on FM26. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I go about creating tactics for any team on Football Manager. To create a tactic from scratch, you start up with the expectations at the club. At Bayern Munich, this is an elite level club. We have a lot of money. It's a big squad. And if you go back to the club tab and go back to the supporters, so you can see the club expectations and what the board is actually expecting of you. And you can see that in Bayern Munich, they're expecting us to play possession football, attacking football, and entertaining football. You can actually scroll all the way down and see, you can also see other options like developing youth players and signing high reputation players. But possession football, attacking football, and entertaining football is going to form the bedrock of my tactical philosophy at Bayern Munich. Now, attacking football does not always mean you have to go meta. However, it does mean that you have to set your team up in a way that allows them to score a high number of goals and not concede too many. For Bayern Munich, you can see our system. I currently have a front three system here, and it's also a back three system. I notice for the current group of players that I have at Bayern Munich at the moment, most of them prefer to play as a deep line forward, especially Endrick and of course Harry Kane and also Jamal Musiala. That is why I went for this system, but I'm going to show you how to create it from scratch. Just go over to the tactics screen, go over to create new tactic. What I like to do is start with a clean slate and go ahead and choose a random formation because I'm going to drag the players into the different positions anyway. I'm just going to go ahead and choose in possession and out of possession. To fill in the players into the team, you need to know who your best players are in the squad. So that's where we go into the squad screen and of course go back to the first team. And this is just basic tactic creation. You can filter the team out by their ability to see who the very best players are. And now I see that Jamal Musiala, Joshua Kimmich, Alphonso Davies, and Harry Kane, of course Endrick as well, in there are players that are the top players in my team. We also have a lot of centre backs and players that are capable of playing at centre back and right back. So that is sort of giving me an idea that I can use a 4-2-3-1 system, or I can also use a back three system. But because I have Musiala in the team, we're going to go ahead and create a system that allows Musiala to play in his favorite position in the number 10 role. So back to the tactics screen, then you can go ahead and choose who the very best players are. We already know that Jamal Musiala is going to be the number 1 player in the team. Go ahead and click his name and then drop him into the attacking position. Go ahead and click down the number 10 attacking position. Now you can go over to Jamal Musiala. Just you can see the player attributes and what he's actually good at. Musiala is a very creative player, as we all know, but what is the best position for him? You can go ahead and click on his player profile. We can see here that there are 2 roles that are very good for Jamal Musiala. You can play as an inside wing on the left hand side, or you can play as a free role on the number 10 position, the attacking position. Now because he has a lot of pace, you could actually choose to play him as an inside winger, but I do not have a very good number 10 position. So the best number 10 in my team is Jamal Musiala, unless I want to use Harry Kane as a number 10, which I'm not really prepared to do. So for this system, we're going to have Jamal Musiala playing the number 10 position and ask him to play as a free role. So in case you do not know how to check which player roles are very good for your player, for this player, you can go ahead and select the particular role that you want. It's going to show you the key attributes that you need for that role. And we can see that Jamal Musiala has all the attributes that you need to be a free role player and a creative threat. So you can ask him to play as a free role in the number 10 position. That is how I go about filling out all the other roles. Make sure the player is actually very good at the role. Then go ahead and choose that role for him. The next elite player in my squad is Alphonso Davies. Alphonso Davies is very well suited to be the fullback in this position. So go ahead and select Alphonso Davies playing as a left back. Now, if you look at his player attributes, you can see that he's more of an adventurous player, to be honest. If you look at his marking, he only has marking of 12. But I don't really want Alphonso Davies to be the player that is going to do a lot defensively, not for marking anyway. I could allow him to press, but I do not want him to do a lot of marking. So I'm going to just move him all the way up and ask him to play as an advanced wing back. This is a very attacking role on Football Manager, so it's best suited for players like Alphonso Davies. So if you go ahead and just drag him out of his out of possession position and put him into the correct position that he's supposed to be, I can also ask him to play as a pressing wing back because he has the attributes to do that. He has a lot of acceleration and work rate and stamina, teamwork as well, and marking not so great, but he can compensate for that in the pace that he has to get at opposition wingers or fullbacks. Because I have Alphonso Davies running down this entire wing, he has the potential to take care of this wing by himself. So I do not really need to have another left-sided player. I already have Jamal Musiala playing in this position, and for my Bayern team, I do not have a left-sided midfielder. I'm going to take out this role altogether and bring it maybe in the centre back position because I know I have a lot of centre backs. Using the same logic, I have gone on to fill up all the other player roles as well. With the goalkeeper, I have Atubulu as my goalkeeper in here. If you look at his player attributes, he's very suited to be a sweeper keeper and also a ball playing goalkeeper. If you look at his passing, he has very good passing for a goalkeeper. Eccentricity is also 12, which means he can be an adventurous goalkeeper. That is why I went for the ball playing goalkeeper as the in possession role and then the super keeper as the out of possession role. My centre back on the left and centre back on the right are both playing as overlapping centre backs. The reason why I went for that option is because they have very good crossing, and the overlapping centre back is more like a wing back that is on attacking duty. So he has the duty of getting in front and playing crosses into the box. If you go ahead and look at the description for the overlapping centre back, you can see all the way here that he is responsible for being or acting like a winger as a centre back. So he can get into the wide areas and playing early crosses into the attacking positions. They have crossing because these players are basically wing backs as well. But because I do not want them to play in wing back positions and they are also very good at centre backs, they have pace as well. They can create that dynamism and get movement into the box and also cross the ball from there. On the left hand side, since I already have Alphonso Davies doing most of the crossing, I could choose to change Stanislas' role to a different one, like maybe the ball playing centre back or even the advanced centre back. I'm going to just choose the ball playing centre back for him, and again I can take off Stanisic as well and bring on another player in Duamonde. He's another player that can act as a ball playing centre back. With most of the roles that you pick starting off, these roles are not going to be set in stone. One of the mistakes most tactic creators make when creating tactic is that you think that the rules are set in stone and you can't change them, but that's not really the case. A different player coming into the team is going to need a very different role. So now that Diamande is in there, I know he cannot play as an overlapping centre back, so I asked him to play as a normal ball playing centre back. Out of possession, however, I have few players pressing. You could have more players pressing if you want, but that will leave your defense exposed because players are going to be jumping out of possession to try and win the ball. The only players that are going to be pressing here is Alphonso Davies and Joshua Kimmich. All the other players who have normal pressing intensity, but Kimmich is a bit aggressive. So when you want to choose a player that can press, you want a player that have work rate, vision, of course, teamwork, determination and decision making, composure. Aggression is also very important for a pressing player. Pace as well, but what Joshua Kimmich doesn't make up for pace, he makes for in mentality, so that he's going to know how to press strategically. Alphonso Davies can do most of the physical pressing and rely on his pace to do the pressing. So just to recap, when choosing player roles, when you go ahead and select a player role, make sure that the player that you have in that role is very suitable to play that role. You can see the key attributes here on the right hand side whenever you go ahead and pick a role. So what about team instructions? I know that the meta has already said that you have to play attacking system with high pressing systems. Of course, you can go ahead and do that, but this is what I normally do. For team instructions, I tend to follow the club expectations and the club culture. In this one, the expectation here tells us to play possession football, attacking football, and entertaining football. Now, you can do this without necessarily playing an attacking mentality. I like to keep the mentality balanced, but if you go back to match day and back to the tactics screen, we already have our formation set up. So the next thing you look at is how to set up the team instructions. To play possession football, you're going to need to have shorter passing and, of course, slightly lower tempo. The time wasted, you can leave it on standard. This is going to encourage your team to try to keep possession of the ball. But what I've noticed on FM26 is that even if you have much shorter passing and much lower tempo set in your team, it's possible for the opponent to have more possession than you. Having short passing and lower tempo doesn't necessarily mean that your team is going to have possession of the ball. You have to also watch the matches and see what is actually happening. I've played matches where I had standard passing and normal balanced tempo, but my team had over 70% possession. But then I've played games where I had much shorter passing and we only had like 38% possession. So I don't know why that is the case. It could mean that the opposition are better at keeping the ball than you, but I don't really understand why a team like Bayern Munich would not be able to keep possession of the ball. So it's really random on FM26. So you have to watch the matches and see what is happening. But to build the core system, we're going to go for shorter passing and lower tempo. Because we have a lot of players in the center of the pitch, I'm going to leave the attacking width on normal, because if you go ahead and stretch it to wide, if you notice you're struggling that you cannot break teams down, you can stretch it to wide, but by default, I'm going to leave it on standard. Most meta tactics tend to go play narrow or much narrower, but notice that this just compresses everything into the center of the pitch, making it difficult for you to break the opposition down, especially on FM26 where they defend in a very deep low block and it's nearly impossible for you to break them down. So I tend to leave it on standard and kind of watch the game and see what happens. And for instructions, I tend to limit it to only 3 to 5 instructions. Now that we've set the passing and the tempo, we don't really touch any other thing. I also don't force counter-attacking because that can make us wasteful in possession. I'm just going to leave it on standard. It doesn't mean that the team won't counter-attack, they will, but they're not going to force it. Out of possession, we only have a few players forward, so playing a high-pressing system might not really help us in this case, especially if the player is Harry Kane, which is not the fastest or the most aggressive player. it has like acceleration 10 and aggression is like 13. It may not be the most aggressive presser, so I can leave the line of engagement on mid block and then increase only the trigger press to more often trigger press. Defensive line, I would like to push that up to slightly higher, but we're going to try to keep possession of the ball when we win it in the middle of the field. Defensive transition, however, I will go ahead and turn on counter press. This will force our team to try to win possession of the ball the moment we lose it, but if we do not win possession after the counter press has been triggered, we will go back to a mid block and stay in that defensive shape because we have a lot of numbers behind the ball already. Once the core system has been set, you can go back to the internal, let's say the low block and mid block and the high press. Each of them have their own instructions. I tend to leave this blank and try to watch the match, and during the games I tend to go ahead and include which instruction I want to do here. For example, if we're playing in a high press and we do not want to prevent the short goalkeeper distribution, we want the goalkeeper to actually play the ball out to their centre backs or their full backs and then try to press those centre backs and full backs. In possession, it's pretty much the same. There are only a few instructions that I've gone on to turn on, like the discourage shooting from distance. In FM26, it's still consistent that your players are going to try to take random shots from odd places. So discouraging this has actually helped us a bit. But I didn't really see the need to walk the ball into the box because we already have shorter passing and slightly lower tempo, so I kind of left these instructions completely blank. What will happen is, as the game progresses, if we need any of these instructions, we'll just go ahead and turn them on. Now, there are other things that play a huge part in your tactic success, and it's not really in the tactics screen at all. This has a lot to do with your squad and the squad dynamics, the happiness of your players. You can see my Bayern team that the dynamics is currently excellent. There are only like 2 players that are concerned. It says that they're unhappy, but I don't think it's that serious unhappiness. We currently have Joseph Stanisic, and he plays a lot of games. You can see that he wants a new challenge because he has currently achieved everything at the club. So it's not really a big deal for us. We try to keep everybody happy. If you want your tactics to succeed on Football Manager, go ahead and try to keep all your players happy as often as you can. Rotate as often as you can. Try to get players in. Players that are not having minutes, try to get them into the team. Find a way to keep everybody happy, because if you don't, no matter the tactic that you're using, it's not going to work. You're going to start having problems and players are going to start causing a mutiny, and whatever you do tactically, it may not really help you win games. You also want to pay attention to training. You can delegate this to your assistant manager. That is what I've been doing. I've been having better results delegating training to the assistant. In case you do not know how to do that, you can go back to the staff screen on the club tab. Just go back to select club or click the drop down. Go ahead and select staff. And under staff, go back to staff responsibilities. Under responsibilities, you can go back to training. Right under media, training responsibility, you can go ahead and delegate training. You can see leads general training of the first team, FC Bayern Munich. You can go ahead and delegate that to somebody else. So mine is currently set to take control, so I'm still running my training anyway. But you can go ahead and just click delegate. Delegate is going to delegate the training to your assistant manager, and you don't have to worry about training. But for mine, I kind of prefer to leave it this way, and then the assistant manager is still going to do most of the training anyway, but right now I have some control. I can go ahead and tweak so many things. You also want to pay attention to opposition instructions. This is a crucial part of Football Manager, to be honest. Opposition instructions helps you decide. Opposition instructions helps you tell your team how to defend against the opposition depending on the team that you come up against, and it's different for every single team. I made a detailed video about opposition instructions. If you want to see how to use them effectively to give your team an advantage in the game, go here and watch that video next.